Welcome to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA players, legends, and top instructors share their stories, insights, and playing lessons. Join Chris every Tuesday night as he talks with the greats of the game. Tonight's show is sponsored by the French Lick Resort, the PGA Tour Superstore, TaylorMade Golf, the Bobby Jones Apparel Company, 2 Under, Ben Hogan Golf, Golf Pride, Srixon and their Z-Star Golf Balls, and the Sandiston Resort. Now here is your host, Chris Mascaro.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to this week's edition of Next on the Tee. I'm your host, Chris Mascaro, and tonight I have 3 more great guests that I'm very excited that I get the opportunity to share with you. First up is going to be 4-time winner on the PGA Tour, Tim Simpson. Tim has become a really wonderful friend of the show over the last several months. He's got so many great stories from his nearly 35 years of playing professionally. He not only won on tour, he fought back from injuries. He's been named Comeback Player of the Year. Tonight, I want to get his perspective on a few things. First of all, the PGA Tour's wraparound season. What do you think of that? What was that like? You know, it certainly wasn't that way before. Heck, right now, we'd be looking forward to silly season on the PGA Tour back in the day with the Skins games and the Shark Shootout and then the Wendy's 3 Tour Challenge and that sort of thing. So I want to get Tim's ideas about that. Plus, I want to talk about his win at the 85 Southern Open and the 89 USF&amp Open as well. Plus, you know, being right in the thick of things back at the 1990 U.S. Open. And Tim has been known, you know, over the course of his career as one of the great ball strikers. You talk about any legend around the game when Tim was there, and they're going to tell you what a great ball striker he was. So we'll talk about that and a whole lot more when he joins me here in just a few minutes. Following him, I'm going to get a return visit from Golf Pride Channel Marketing Manager Charlie Fisher. They've got some great new grips coming out, folks, and, you know, we're going to talk about all of those. And I have to tell you, I'm loving their new Pro Series putter grips, in particular the Blue Star. It's 81 cc's. It's got a nice wide, you know, flat front on it for your thumbs and, you know, makes it real nice and comfortable. Plus the back has got some really nice fit for where your finger joints are going to fit. So it really is a great way to get connected to the putter. So I want to talk about that. And you guys know how much I love their MCC +4 Align grips. I've got those on all of my clubs. So we'll talk about that. And Charlie's always such a wonderful guest, very informative. Looking forward to having him on the show with me. He'll join me a little bit later on in this half hour. And then we're going to round out tonight's show with a return visit from our resident, if you will, Director of Instruction, Tom Patri. Tonight I'm going to get Tom's thoughts about the wraparound season as well. Who he thinks should be the PGA Tour Player of the Year. Big debate going on right now between Rory McIlroy and Brooks Koepka. And keep in mind, the PGA of America has already named Brooks Koepka as their Player of the Year, and as you would think he would, right? He won the PGA Championship 2 years in a row, so of course he's going to win that. But who do the PGA Tour players think is the Player of the Year? So we'll talk about that. Plus, want to get his thoughts on the upcoming Solheim Cup, right? With the dominance of the Asian players out on the LPGA Tour, would it be a better matchup? Now, the Solheim Cup is just like the Ryder Cup, right? So it's the U.S. versus the European players. So is it time for the LPGA Tour to have like a President's Cup sort of thing where it's the U.S. versus the rest of the world? Because, again, the Asian players are dominating the LPGA, so they should get their opportunity to be in a team event. So we'll talk about that as well. Tom will join me about 45 minutes from now. So there you have it, folks. More great stories and playing lessons coming your way tonight on this edition of Next on the Tee. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in and taking the journey with me tonight. Before we get started, I always like to remind you about a couple of great podcasts. First of all, Talking Golf Getaways with my friend Mitch Lawrence and his co-host Darren Bunch. They're going to let you know about great places to go stay, play, and even eat and drink when you're out there. You can stream their podcast over on golftripx.com, and that's the letter X, so golftripx.com. Also available on Audio Boom, Stitcher, and Player.fm as well. Go there, check out their show, and learn about some of the hidden gems that we have around the country. His twin brother Matthew also has a great golf show. It's called Backspin Golf. That show airs Sunday mornings from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time on WLXG ESPN Radio, AM 1300 up in Lexington, Kentucky. You can stream the show online by going to WLXG.com or doing what I did, which is download the WLXG app and stream it right there on your smartphone. Matthew always makes this show so much fun to listen to. A lot of great golfing content as well. It's a great way to kick off your Sunday mornings. Again, it's called Backspin Golf, and you can stream it online by going to WLXG.com or on the WLXG app. And folks, as you know, we are sponsored by the French Lick Resort. Let's hear from Steve Rondinero about what they've got going on this summer.
It's a Pete Dye masterpiece, the Pete Dye course at French Lick Resort. Pete says its location on one of the highest points in Indiana makes it special.
The long views, you can see maybe 20 and 30 miles from many of the fairways and many of the tees and greens, and you can see it in 360 degrees.
Donald Ross's Hill Course put French Lick on the golf map more than 100 years ago. It's where Walter Hagen won the 1924 PGA Championship, and the place where today's Symetra Tour ladies battle each year.
It's the ambience around it that makes the golf course.
Combine our many resort amenities with legendary golf, and you have a getaway like no other. French Lick Resort is the home of the Senior LPGA Championship, won in 2018 by World Golf Hall of Famer Laura Davies. Play the courses champions play. Plan your trip now, online at FrenchLick.com.
Yeah, folks, go online to FrenchLick.com to see for yourself what a beautiful place they have up there. All the great golf courses. And, oh, by the way, they've got a casino right there on the property as well. And, well, folks, TaylorMade Golf has done it again. The TaylorMade M5 and M6 drivers are a tremendous story. They both feature speed-injected twist face created through a revolutionary manufacturing process where every single head, and folks, you hear me say it all the time, yes, every single head is injected and calibrated to the threshold of the legal limit. So basically, every head is made to be tour spicy, so speed for all of us. Check it out online by going to TaylorMadeGolf.com. And also check out our friends at the Bobby Jones Apparel Company by going online to BobbyJones.com. They've got their new fall collection out right now. And you're going to see guys like Steve Stricker, Miguel Angel Jimenez, and Ernie Els out there wearing it on tour. Check it out online by going to BobbyJones.com and see for yourself what a wonderful new fall collection they've got. And enter the code next on the T at checkout. It's going to save you 10% as well. All right, folks, now back with me here on the French Lick Resort guest line is four-time winner on the PGA Tour, Tim Simpson. And let me remind you about Tim's background. He's from right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Played his college golf at the University of Georgia, where he lettered in 1975 and 76. He was an honorable mention All-American in 75 and a third-team All-American in 76. And he was named first-team All-SEC both seasons. While at Georgia, Tim won the 1975 Palmetto Intercollegiate Tournament and the 1976 Southern Amateur. He finished 21st in the NCAA Championship back in 1975 and 14th in 76. Turned pro the next year in 77. Like I say, he won 4 times on the PGA Tour at the 85 Southern Open, the 1989 USF&amp Classic, and back-to-back years at the Walt Disney World Oldsmobile Open in 89 and 90. He's collected 5 other professional wins, including 5 Georgia Opens and the Cacheral World Championship over in France. He had 2 top 10 finishes in majors, both coming in 1990 at the U.S. Open and the PGA Championship. He was named Comeback Player of the Year in 1989. In 90, he was named the Georgia Professional Athlete of the Year, and in 2004, he was inducted into the State of Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. 2006, inducted into the Georgia Golf Association Hall of Fame as well, and named Comeback Player of the Year on the Champions Tour. And I'm very excited that he is back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Tim, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, Chris. Thank you for all the accolades.
You're welcome. Tim, I want to start our time tonight. I want to get your thought quickly on the PGA Tour's wraparound season. I'm going to be talking a little bit about that tonight on the show. You know, when you were out on tour, this seemed like this was getting into the time of sort of silly season, right? We had the Skins games back then. We had the Shark Shootout. We had the Wendy Street Tour Open. Those sorts of things were happening or getting ready to happen this time of year. What are your thoughts on the PGA Tour wraparound? Is it good or is it too much of a good thing for the players?
I think it's too much. I think it's kind of oversaturation, in my opinion. And I don't know. This time of year, I was thinking about deer hunting. You know, anything I could hunt with a bow and an arrow. So, you know, November, December was typically, I mean, although it's not there yet, but that was typically our time to rest, rejuvenate, spend time with the family, do some hunting, go on a family vacation. And now it's like nonstop. And I don't know. It's traditionally, you watch, it seems the same players that play good in the silly season, and then they go into a slump the first 5 or 6 months of the regular tour season next year. And in my opinion, I think their body's just saying, hey, I was looking forward to some rest. And I think it's too much of a good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's was sort of curious. Like, this time of year for you, you mentioned you were, out hunting. But I imagine at some point your body needed to just take a break, and you put the clubs in the garage or wherever for a couple of months and just let your body rest and recuperate. To continue to play almost all year round, I would think eventually would start taking a toll on your body, would it not?
Absolutely. I think, any physical therapist will tell you that you're much more apt to pull or tear a muscle when it's fatigued. And I think your body just breaks down. I mean, you look at the best pitchers in the world in the major league. I mean, they have to rest. And, rest them for 3 days or 4 days or 5 days, whatever it is. They're not throwing 100 balls each day, staying sharp. You're resting. And I think your body needs it. But I tell you something, when, back in the day, I played a lot of tournaments. And, of course, the kids today are in astounding shape. But we weren't in bad a shape in our era. And I would be honest and tell you that my mind took as much fatigue as my body. When I would come off the road after playing like 3 tournaments in a row, you wake up Monday morning and it's the normal go, 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 go. And then Tuesday, it was like you crashed. And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you just felt like you had the flu, or like I did in all these years with Lyme disease. But then all of a sudden, Saturday, you'd start feeling good again. Then Sunday, you'd feel great. And then Sunday afternoon, Monday morning, you're jumping on a plane going to the next tournament. So it takes your body time to wind down and to recoup. I mean, you truly get mentally exhausted as well.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that, Tim, because I read that you once said the hardest thing to do in sports is to play with a quiet mind so that you can let your body play instinctively. So now you got both of those things, right? Now you got mental fatigue and you got stuff going on in your mind. Talk about the challenges around trying to figure out a way to quiet your mind down.
Well, as you know, Chris, Tom Kite and I were Bob Rotella's first students on the PGA Tour in, probably 83 or so. And we're still dear friends. I still ask him questions concerning my competition archery. And it doesn't matter what sport you're competing in, whether you're kicking field goals, throwing baseball pitches, batting, serving a tennis ball, it doesn't matter. It is all the same mind. And I will believe till the day I die that you will always perform your best when your mind is the quietest. And I battle it in competitive archery. I shoot bare bow, I shoot long bows and recurves, no sights, nothing fancy. And I can do a great job of keeping my mind quiet when there's nothing on the line. And then, I shot in the World Championship last month, and it's like the mind's like, don't do this, don't do that. Make sure you do this. And your subconscious is saying, what in the heck? Leave me alone, So it's all the same mind. That's something you ought to keep in mind in the future, when talking to people. It's all the same mind. It doesn't matter. You don't think when you brush your teeth. Probably the best quote I've heard in the last 5 or 7 years was in a sports psychology book, a self-help type book, and it wasn't written by Bob. It was written by somebody else. He said someone asked him to describe the conscious mind. He said it's quite simple. When was the last time you missed your mouth with a fork? And I'm like, wow, that is subconscious.
Yeah. Tim, I want to switch gears a little bit. And, one of the things that's been attributed to you, over the course of your playing career is what a great ball striker you were. You ask any of the, the greatest legends of the game, the Jack Nicklaus's and Lee Trevinos, Arnold Palmers, those guys would tell you that Tim Simpson was one of the great ball strikers, one of the best they ever saw. What do you attribute that to? What made you such a great striker of the golf ball?
2 things, and it's funny that we're touching on a quiet mind. I think I had as quiet a mind when it came to the golf swing as anybody that ever played the game. I focused on target like a laser, and I trusted my swing. I had a very simple and repeatable swing. And I remember it wasn't the prettiest swing. My swing was never as beautiful as Tom Patri's or Payne Stewart's or some others, but it was just very simple. And whereas most players would get on for 1 or 2 weeks, I would get on for 6 weeks at a time. And as you know, I'm not in the book, The Greatest Putters in History. And it was just a matter of if I made a few putts that week, I finished top 5 or top 10, But, I think the quieter you can keep your mind. Now, obviously, you got to do your homework. You got to do your time in the gym, which is on the practice tee, and you've got to develop a repeatable, efficient golf swing. I can't emphasize efficient enough. And I think, quite honestly, if Jordan Spieth called me tonight and said, I'm just curious, what do you think is the matter with my driving? I'd say, without changing anything, there's 1 or 2 things I would change, but without changing anything, I'd back it down and start swinging 85%. I think the kids today overswing. I think it's like, we don't care if we hit it 3 fairways over, I'm going to be hitting a wedge back over the trees on the green. And my argument, Chris, and I think you'll like this, is if you own a Ferrari and you run it at 7,500 RPMs all the time, it's just a matter of time before it blows up. It's much more efficient if you run it at a normal 3,500 RPMs. And to me, the kids on tour today are just, it hurts me to watch them swing. After 3 back surgeries, my back don't like watching them swing.
So, Tim, is that what you mean by an efficient swing? Is that the RPMs? Is that the rate at which we're swinging, or what do you mean by having a more efficient swing?
Efficient is repeatable. I swing repeated day after day, week after week, month after month. And I can remember all the way back in 1990, Golf Digest came to the TPC, and that was just the top 150 players in the world right off the money list. And they asked all of us to hit balls for them. And they took all kind of computer calculations and this and that. And I remember Tom Ness, who was on the Golf Digest panel for many years, he told me years later, he said, nobody was even remotely close to keeping the club going down the target line as long as you. He said the only person remotely close was Nick Price, and he said he was about 2 light years away. And that was why I went. I played 32 tournaments a year, and I did a Golf Channel show, and I went I went 7 years on the PGA Tour, 220 plus tournaments, and never hit a ball out of bounds. That's a lot of straight driving.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, a lot of. So, I wish I'd made a few more putts.
You hit on something a moment ago. You talked about, you trusted your swing. Right? And I think that's a place where a lot of we amateurs get in trouble, right? I mean, since we're not out there beating 1,000 golf balls during the week on the tour or on the range and that sort of thing, we second guess ourselves sort of mid-swing, right? We decel, and that's when we start to chunk it, or we come out of it, or we're doing that because we don't trust what's going to happen. We second guess ourselves. Getting back to the quiet mind, we second guess ourselves during the course of the swing. Did you have some swing keys or some things that you did that allowed you to trust it because you had that same routine over and over again?
Well, I tell you, it's funny because Golf Digest came to me. I was already sick with Lyme disease, but I was still playing on the regular tour, and they wanted me to give them my swing secrets. And I said, I'm not quite ready yet. Give me a few years, and when I retire, I'll be happy to. Well, by then I was a has-been, and they weren't interested. But I was always a leg player. I believe today that the downswing is totally initiated by the legs. And they say 90% of all amateurs worldwide slice the ball, and the typical amateur swing is, Chris, they take it back to the top, the legs stop, they start over the top with the hands, and it's over. Now it's just hang on for dear life, because if you release it, it's going to be the worst duck hook you've ever seen. So, and the other thing is simultaneously as my left leg started driving, I pull with the last three fingers of my left hand. That was my key. And I grip, you'd probably be shocked, even though I'm sure you're a high-level player, at how lightly I grip the club. And I worked for 20 years with Sam Snead. He was like a grandfather to me. And Sam gripped it literally, like you used to say, like he was holding a baby bird. But I gripped it firm in the last three fingers of the left hand, firm being a 5 on a 1 to 10, not an 8. The other fingers were light. And then the right hand, it was literally like I was holding my granddaughter's hand. It was just barely on the club. And I have the same trait that VJ had in his prime, and I've seen it in several other players, where my index finger and thumb actually come off the club right before impact. And, I'm just holding it like a baby. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think I was giving a lesson to a friend Sunday morning, and I said, here, grip. Of course, he's over the top. He's an amateur. And I said, here, grip my index finger, how tight you're gripping it. And I said, all right, now the other hand. And I'm like, oh, my God, it's like you're choking a rattlesnake. Relax. And here's what you can do with anybody. Two things. Number one, you want to see how tight somebody grips a golf club. All you got to do is waggle. You can tell on TV. You can tell from 20 yards away. If they grip it and waggle real fast, a la Nick Price, Tom Watson, they're choking it. And the other thing is how you can prove it. Just have somebody grip a golf ball on the practice tee, say, grip this tight, and try to throw it. And they'll throw it right in the ground. Whereas if they grip it light, they throw a beautiful ball. So you have to, there's a saying in martial arts, relaxed muscles are fast muscles and strong muscles. And I think you look at Tiger. He looks like he could pull the club out of his hand. I watch it with a lot of young players. They have light grip pressure. I do love that. I just don't like the fact that, one thing that's never changed in the game, doesn't matter how fast or slow you take it away, the club has to come to a total stop, reroute, change directions, and go again. And from that reroute or the start of the downswing, they're trying to go from a 0 to 120. And it's like, oh, my God, give me 80%. Come on. Tiger Woods can't hit Lake Oconee where I live with a golf ball, with a driver. It was like, I've told people if this guy drove it 1/20th as straight as me, he'd have won 300 turns. It's just crazy. But of course, it's like I was telling Bubba Watson a couple of years ago with some people around at a Bulldog Golf Day at Georgia. I told him, I said, Bubba, I can still hit it as far as you. I just got to hit it twice.
That's great. Tim, you talked about your putting and how you wished, if you could have just putted a little bit better. I also read that was sort of one of your big regrets with respect to mechanics of the game, was that your putting became too mechanical. Is that accurate? Is that what happened? Did you just got too much into the mechanics of the putting and not just stepping up and putting the ball in the hole?
You are 100% correct. And gosh almighty, as much as I love Bob Rotella, he's like a big brother to me. We would argue and argue and argue about it, and I'd say, you don't understand, my hands are shaking, and he's like, Timbo, everybody's hands are shaking. I'm like, I'm the only guy out here with Lyme's disease. I got a neurological disease. I'm not worried about three putting. I'm worried about knocking it in the lake, But I think Chris, if I had my career to do over again, I would do two things. I found something 3 or 4 years after I retired, about 3 years ago, I found something that it was something mechanical that was wrong since I was 14 years old in my stroke. And the first stroke I did it in the bedroom, I'm like, I cannot believe I was that stupid. But the other thing I would change, I would never listen to anybody that said I couldn't putt. It was like they had a patented line from the time I got on TV the first time on the PGA Tour until I retired from the Champions Tour. They'd say, Tim Simpson, great iron player, best ball striker in the world, can't putt. And you start believing you can't putt. And ironically, going back to keeping the conscious mind quiet, what I did so well tee to green, buddy, that thing cut on like bright lights, you know, my conscious mind when I got over the putter. Instead of, Rotella used to say, Timbo, there's only two things you can do, go in or miss. Just relax and hit it. So anyway, you know, we all wish we had takeovers. I wish I had never believed or listened to them saying I couldn't putt. But if you think about it, they have to make an excuse why you're not winning 15 times a year. You know, it's like I remember, I'd been on tour 3 or 4 years before I ever got paired with Ben Crenshaw. We were friends, but I'm saying he shot the easiest 65 I ever saw, and he wasn't making 40-footers. And we're going off 18T at the Phoenix Open, and I said, Ben, where the heck do they get this? You can't hit it. And he just started laughing. And he said, I don't know. But he said, you know, you remember I won my first tournament on tour, and then I went in a terrible slump for a couple of years. And he said, that's what it was. He said, everything I read, everything I heard talked about how bad I hit it. And, you know, everybody can't be a Tiger Woods and do everything, you know, just like Superman. And, you know, it all comes down to one thing. And I tell amateurs this week in and week out. If you're seeing somebody on TV on Saturday and Sunday, they have run the tables with the putter. There are guys 8 and 10 shots back that have no doubt hit it better. They just lipped them out and hung them on the lip. And people always pick on Jordan Spieth. What's happening to him? I don't know, you know, he played so great last year and now he's messing with his swing. No, he's not messing with his swing. He's just not making 2 putts around over 20 feet and 90% under 9 or 10 feet. You know, and you know, he goes a couple of months and all of a sudden here comes the putter back and there he is winning again. And that's the way it is with everybody. You know, unless you've got just astounding talent like Tiger or Dustin Johnson and stuff where they can have their C game and finish top 10. And if they kick in a few putts, well, it's a win.
Tim, before I let you go, I want to ask you about a couple of tournaments, one that you won and one you were right there in. Your second PGA Tour win, I believe, came at the '89 USF&amp Classic. You won it by 2 strokes over Greg Norman and Hal Sutton. And when I think of you and Hal Sutton, boy, I think, but there are 2 guys built very similarly, seem like they had a very similar mindset, 2 guys tough as nails. What do you remember about battling Hale and then that golf tournament?
You're talking about New Orleans?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Well, I was paired with Greg the last day, and Rotella and I came up with a great game plan the night before. He said, is your wife down there? And I said, no, she's at home. I said, I got a couple of friends down here. He said, well, except the fact there's going to be 2 people pulling for it in the gallery. Everybody's going to assume Greg is going to win, you know, because he's number 1 in the world. He was Tiger Woods in. And it was amazing. He said, just be patient and play your game. And it comes around to like number 13, I guess it was 14. And we both hit it right over the top of the pin, about 20 feet long, and he was about an inch outside of me. Same line. I had to move my coin, and he missed the putt, but I got a good read off of it, and I center cut it to take the lead. And the momentum of the gallery went 180 degrees toward me. And it was like it took the wind out of his sails. Then the next hole I made, or 2 holes later, I made birdie. Then 16, I hit the pin with my second shot, and it was all over but the crying. The U.S. Open in 1990 was the heartbreaker. It's the one that still I wake up with night sweats thinking about. You know, I set the course record there at Medina. I became the first player in history to get to 9 under in U.S. Open competition. And it was the same thing, Chris. I missed 7 putts under 4 feet the last 2 days. I didn't hit it any different. I mean, I hit it great. And I remember my friend Butch Harmon was following Steve Elkington and I the first 2 days. And I'm sure Butch doesn't say it anymore, but forever and ever, he said that was the greatest 2 rounds of ball striking he ever saw, which was very flattering coming from Butchie. But, you know what? Life goes on. I'm enjoying retirement. I haven't played I've played 9 holes in 3 years. I've had 3 back surgeries, and unfortunately I can't play anymore. And it's tough. It's tough. You know, I feel like an Olympic sprinter that won gold and is respected by his peers, and one day he woke up and he couldn't walk. You know, it's like it's so easy for me to hit a golf ball, and God took that ability away from me, you know. I don't ever care to compete again, even on a state level, but I would love to play with my granddaughters or play with you if you came to town, or friends, you know. It's tough.
Right. So, Tim, before I let you go, being a Georgia Bulldog, got to get your thoughts. How do you feel about Georgia's football team this year, and is this the year that they get past Alabama and they get their opportunity and win a national championship?
I'm liking our chances, and I love the fact that watching the game the other night, they said we got the biggest line and the best offensive line in the nation. I'm telling you what, the linemen, the current linemen at Georgia, they can't fit in an 18-wheeler. I'm talking about the back of an 18-wheeler. These dudes are men. But I tell you, I think if anybody can beat Coach Saban other than Dabo, it's Kirby. Kirby coached with him forever, and with all the coaches that have been under Saban that have gone on to the pros and the head jobs in college, he's the only one that Saban cried when he left. He said he was like his son. So I'm a big Bulldog fan. The weekend of the Notre Dame game in a couple of weeks, we've got our Bulldog Letterman's reunion, and you'll have guys a lot older than me, for God's sakes. I'm 63, and that'll be there. And most all the kids from the PGA Tour come back, Bubba and Russell Henley and all the guys, Chris Kirk, they all come back. And it's a great reunion. And, we got a great tradition on the PGA Tour. We've been very fortunate. We put out a lot of great players out there.
Well, Tim, before I let you go, remind our listeners, how can they stay up to date with all the great things you're doing, follow you on social media, and then come out and get a lesson or two, perhaps?
Well, you can go to timsimpsongolf.com, and I love to teach. I'm the only former top 10 player of the modern era that teaches. I love to teach. I'm just too old to stand out there all day and do it anymore, but a few lessons here and there is fine. I'm on Facebook, Tim Simpson on Facebook, and I'm on and off again with it, but and I do motivational speaking. Once again, you can book that through my website or contact me through my website. And it's always a pleasure, Chris, coming on the show, and thank you for thinking of me, buddy.
I appreciate you, Tim. Thank you for taking time out of your night to come back. I always enjoy spending time with you so much, so I appreciate the fact that you had to go through a little bit to get on the show tonight, but you're spectacular, my friend.
Just remember 2 things, Chris. Start the downswing with the legs and pull with the butt of the club with the last 3 fingers of the left hand. You're going to call me and say, Absolutely. It's working, brother.
Absolutely. I'm sure it is. Tim, take care, my friend. All the best to you and your family. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you so much, Chris. Bye-bye.
See you, Tim. That's the great Tim Simpson, folks. It doesn't get any better than that. Go check him out online, Tim Simpson Golf. That's his website. You book a lesson. You can, interact with him there. It doesn't do a whole lot on social media, but you'll find him every once in a while on his Facebook page as well. But so many great tips came out of that. I mean, I'll tell you, the efficient swing, the repeatable swing, 80%, I think is spot on. And that grip, I'm going to try that thing. We'll see how that works. I'll let you know. All right, before I get to my next guest, Charlie Fisher, I want to remind you about a couple of our sponsors. Be sure to check out our friends at the Ben Hogan Golf Equipment Company. Now, folks, if you haven't hit Ben Hogan irons since maybe the 80s or the 90s, do yourself a favor. Get a demo iron. They got a demo program. And you get a demo iron of either their Fort Worth PTX, new PTX Pro, or their Edge irons, and take it out on the range and you can compare it to whatever it is you've got. All Ben Hogan irons and wedges are handcrafted one at a time in their Fort Worth, Texas factory. So no mass production, no shortcuts. Now you can order custom-made irons, wedges, and hybrids by going online to benhogangolf.com. And they're going to build those clubs to your specifications. And best of all, charge you a fraction of the typical retail price. Check out their complete line again of their forged irons, their wedges, utility irons, their hybrids, their bags, accessories, their new GS53 driver and fairway woods, which are spectacular. All of it, you can find out more information online by going to benhogangolf.com. I also want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Golf Pride. In golf, light grip pressure releases power. Golf Pride engineered a secret that pros know. A larger lower hand encourages lighter grip pressure. You heard just Tim Simpson talking about that just a moment ago. Plus 4 technology is designed with 4 additional layers, which reduces tension in the lower hand to generate more power. Play Plus 4 and release the secret that pros know. Now available on Tour Velvet, which is the winningest grip on tour. Grip confidence, grip golf pride. And folks, this segment of the show is sponsored by our good friends over at the PGA Tour Superstore.
This segment of the show is brought to you by the PGA Tour Superstore. See why golfers everywhere are proud to call PGA Tour Superstore their golf pro shop. Visit them online at PGATourSuperstore.com. Now back to Chris and more of the show.
And now back in making his 4th appearance with me here on the French Lick Resort guest line is Golf Pride Channel Marketing Manager Charlie Fisher. Let me remind you a little bit about Charlie's background. Earned his bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in professional golf management from Methodist University, and he got his MBA from the University of Phoenix. He started out as an assistant golf professional at Siwanoy Country Club up in Bronxville, New York, which is a beautiful Donald Ross designed course, which was the site of the very first PGA Championship back in 1916. From there, Charlie became the first assistant golf professional at Colasagia Club up in Blue Ridge Mountains in Highlands, North Carolina, which is an Arnold Palmer designed course. He spent 7 years with the Acushnet Company in various roles, ranging from consumer test coordinator to product test supervisor. Joined Golf Pride back in 2011 as a territory sales manager. He's ascended up through that organization, and like I say, is now channel marketing manager, and I'm very honored he is back with me again tonight here on Next on the Tee. Hey, Charlie, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, Chris. Thanks for having us back tonight.
It's always a thrill having you as part of the show, Charlie. And I got to tell you, my friend, you got a couple of really nice new grips that I want to talk about. And I tell you what, I'm a huge fan of the new Blue Star, the nice flat front grip for the putter. It's got a nice angled back that, to me, feels a little bit like the Align on your other grips that I've got on all of my irons as well. Boy, I tell you what, I'm a huge fan of that putter grip. Talk about the new Pro Series.
Yeah, the Pro-only putter grip, Chris, honestly, is we're really excited to launch it. I mean, when you think of modernizing some of the classic, great shapes that have really, dominated the tours over the years, I mean, this was really a chance for us to kind of peel back the layers of youngin' of what's really happening up there on tour. And the truth of the matter is you take a look at the top 30 putters on tour, over 20 of them are using these more traditional shapes. And it's like, okay, so why is this? I mean, you see bigger grips and you see a lot of the consumers using bigger grips, but, as with every product that we launch, we really tried to dive in and understand. And the reality is these guys, think of a surgeon, with a scalpel in his hand, right? And they really want something that's a little bit smaller, something that's, their hands are closest, their fingers are closest to the instrument. And it really does put that the feel of the putter face, and the control of the putter face, more importantly, back in their hands. So we definitely, with some different materials that we've been able to relaunch this, you'll notice that they are slightly larger than some of the smaller traditional shapes that we used to launch. They're a little bit larger, so I would say they have more of a mid-size profile, and then that the material is just a little bit softer. So we call it finely tuned for the players and what they're looking for. And you mentioned the Blue Star. Definitely, it's got that defined ridge in the back, and it's got the flat front.
Yeah.
Really, for those guys that like their palms to face each other and to be able to feel, they can kind of lock in like you talked about in their fingers. Really helps keep their palms facing each other and keep that club face square. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I say, and I've got the Blue Star. I'm holding it right now as we speak, and I love how it fits the palms on either side. I kind of got the ridge on the bottom that helps me right, sort of in the finger joints, and then that nice big flat front. Again, getting my thumbs kind of nicely on it so that I can square the putter that much better. Talk about that. That's, Charlie, when we were talking a little bit about this with Tim Simpson about putting and being mechanical with putting, I think one of the areas that many of us, and by us, I mean we amateurs that are out there on the weekends playing, part of the places that we struggle, particularly with our putting, is, we get the putting yips, right? We're leaving it short. We're leaving it on the low side of the hole. I feel like this grip allows me to keep the putter face much more square than a traditional grip. Talk about the ability that now with the new Pro Only series to be able to keep that connection to it, keeping the putter face more square.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, it's funny. I mean, we have the Tour Sensor series, which is a larger profile putter grip, and there's no question that there are certain guys prefer a larger feel and it also helps your hands fit into a certain position. And, you know, that's the thing with putting. It's such a personal, you know, choice in the way that we grip the club and the way that we do things. So we definitely, I mean, we have the Tour sensor, which has been phenomenal for us. It's super successful, but, you know, there is that golfer that kind of like that craftsman, you know, that wants to feel the hammer in his hands and wants to feel the scalpel, as I mentioned with the surgeon. So with that said, I mean, for me personally, I've always been that smaller ping style butter grip, you know, that we made, guys like Tiger Woods or Ricky Fowler use something similar with the Scotty Cameron logo on it. You know, it's interesting that I've always preferred that smaller. And there is a generation of guys that have grown up playing that, and there's a new generation of guys that are still playing that smaller profile. You look at Brooks Koepka, Rory McIlroy just won the FedEx Championship. And those are Golf Pride grips with an OEM, our OEM partners, work with us to make these grips that are shaped specifically for the needs of that product that they're developing. So, that's something that we're really proud of. I mean, to speak to that, if you look at the number of putter grip wins on tour this year, I mean, Golf Pride OEM branded product, we've had over 50, and then we've had Golf Pride specific product as well. We've had, a couple of those as well. And it's just when the best players in the world are looking for that feel and that closest to, you think of the control of the shaft and the control of the putter face and the control of their stroke. These guys are dialed in. I mean, to kind of reference, what our product manager, Bruce Miller, talks about, he's talking about like, this is the stick shift, the manual, versus the automatic, transmission. And guys that are putting with these really have control of their vehicle and, they know what they're doing. So what it does, and you think about it, the bigger the grip gets, the farther your hands get apart, so when you have the grip that's a little bit smaller, right, your hands are actually working more together. And when your hands are working together and your palms, regardless of if you're using a claw grip or a left hand low or a right hand low putter, grip, the more that you can get your palms kind of facing each other, the more that they're going to be in sync with the club face. And it helps it stay, as you're swinging, as you're making your stroke, it just helps it just get more square to the line that you set up on. And that's really it.
Charlie, I want to switch gears a little bit because you've got a new Tour Micro Suede grip that I also have here in my hands that is a little different feel from what I'm used to, but it really feels nice and comfortable in the hand. It's a little tacky, but not too tacky. Talk about what's different about this grip.
Chris, I'll tell you, the Tour Wrap Micro Suede is honestly one of my favorite grips. Not only is it's a stunner from a distance. I mean, this gray look with this kind of matte finish with the gloss internal and inside the wrap lines there. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful grip. I am partial. With that said, from a performance standpoint, this thing is serious. It's definitely, you think of the Tour Wrap grip. The Tour Wrap family of grips have been our, one of our top families, ever. The original Tour Wrap came out in 1991, I believe. And really was one of the first wrap grips that we had since we had leather grips years ago. But when we launched the Tour Wrap, it was a success, a huge success. We relaunched it with this tackier finish in about 2010, and it's just continued to grow. I mean, it just, with the different colors that we've launched. But this Tour Wrap Micro Suede, let me tell you, I mean, of all the benefits of the Tour Wrap, for the guys that like the wrap style grip, we have the Tour Wrap. We have the CP2, which has the same wrap. So we have two grips in our product families in our portfolio that have a wrap style grip. But it's like, okay, we've got these wrap style grips. We know that consumers like these wrap style grips. What are some of the pain points that, we're hearing from consumers? And the reality is, it's like these things are great, in kind of dry conditions or, in just normal conditions, or even slightly damp conditions. But man, when it rains, they get a little slick. And for us, it's like, all right, how can we kind of help solve this problem for the consumers? Benefits of, a traditional buffed grip, like, all of our core grips are buffed. Tour Velvet's buffed. Tour Velvet's our number one grip plate on tour. So how can we take some of those characteristics, all weather playability, and bring it to this wrap style grip that we know consumers love? And so that's really what we did. We have a proprietary buffing compound that we use basically when we do this, when we finish the product. And really what it is, it's a finishing process. It's a certain medium that we use when we actually buff the grip. And it's allowed us to not get too deep because when you're buffing it, you're roughing up the edges, the surface of the grip, and you're exposing that grip. And that's something that we didn't really want to expose, too much. We wanted to keep that velvety feel. And with this grip, I mean, we really hit a home run. When you look at it from all the consumer testing that we've done and just the initial reaction that we've seen in social media, just the reaction, the feedback from consumers, from our retail partners. I mean, it's really been great for us. So, and it filled a major gap in our portfolio. So.
And Charlie, you mentioned you guys hit a home run. And not only did you guys hit a home run, you guys hit a grand slam, because I don't know if everyone is aware out there, but Golf Pride being the number one grip on tour is certainly that. You look at Rory uses the Tour Velvet cord grips. In fact, so does Tiger, so does Brooks Koepka, so does U.S. Open champ Gary Woodland. Open champion Shane Lowry uses the Tour Velvet grips. I mean, everybody that's out there winning is using Golf Pride grips. Boy, when you look at winning the Grand Slam, well, you guys certainly did that. Talk about it. I mean, that's got to make you guys go crazy, at the office, knowing that every time there's a major champion and a winner pretty much on any of the tours, oh, by the way, they're using your grip.
Well, it's funny, Chris. I mean, we have a weekly tour report that comes out internally, and it's one of those things we do. We take a lot of pride in it. I mean, the hard part is, we don't pay for endorsements. We don't pay people to use our product. And every single week, we have over 80% of the guys playing. I mean, I think if you look at the Korn Ferry Tour, this past week, I think we had 84% of the players using our product. 86, I think, is really where we finished up on swinging the product for the year and the full PGA Tour season. And that's not something that, like, in winning the Grand Slam, that's a huge win. I mean, that's huge to say that you had your product in the hands of every single player that won the majors this year. Obviously the FedEx champion. I mean, that's a huge thing for us as well, and we're proud of that. But it's one of those where we recognize it internally. We definitely want to tell people about it. But we also, take it as a challenge as to how can we keep repeating, and it's like, how can we keep doing this? How can we keep up in the game? How can we keep bringing things, and whether it's the product and innovation and technology to our product, whether it's service to our tours, to our retail partners, to the consumer, how can we keep bringing product like a Tour Rep Micro Suede to the consumer, where it's just like, hey, look, we hear what you're saying. This is what we want to give. We want to keep giving you product that you want, and product that you need, and product that you don't even know that you need or want yet. So that's really where we're at.
Yeah. To your point, Charlie, right? I mean, yeah, you guys are dominating, but you can't rest on your laurels, because the moment that you do, that's when you get, you start to fall behind. So talk about some of the other things. What's some of the feedback? And I know you can't give us too much of a glimpse into the future, but what's some of the other feedback that you guys are working on to try to take yourselves, even to new heights next year?
Well, I'll tell you, Chris, it's one of those things where we have, it's like every time we come out with a new Align, or every time we come out with a new +4, the feedback is, well, what if you put the Align product on this? Or what would happen if you put this in a +4 profile? And so it's one of those where we're always looking at the technologies that we have. We're looking at different materials, whether it's how can we make something more durable? How can we make something more UV resistant? So all those are characteristics, but more or less, like from a performance standpoint, what's the first thing a golfer recognizes when they pick up a grip? Feel. How does it feel in their hands? So yeah. That's the main thing. The second thing is like, okay, so what's happening throughout the swing? Is there characteristics regarding torque? Is the grip stable in their hands? So you take like a CP2, and so we have a control core at the top of the grip. It's literally built inside the grip. Consumers don't see that, but it's in there. It's more or less to help control the torque in your lead hand, so that there's not a lot of twisting up there in that butt end. So we're always looking at, like, how can we, come up with stuff that benefits the consumer, that feels good, that plays well, like the Tour Rep Micro Suede plays well in all conditions. And, looking at the Pro Only series, I mean, I think as we take a step back, and it's like, okay, consumers are, putting is something that people probably don't spend as much time on, as we all know, as much as they do on the driving range, because the big drive is the biggest thing. And, I think Tim Simpson alluded to it when he was on the phone. He was just like, the guys that you see on Saturday and Sunday are doing what? They're the guys who are making the putts on the weekend. And, so that's, we're trying to stay focused on every element of the game. and making sure that we've got something that the guys can bomb it with, that's going to last them, that's going to feel good in their hands. And then we want to make sure that they're able to make those putts. So what's new for us? I think we're diving into every single one. If you look on the chalkboards at Golf Pride HQ, the Global Innovation Center, honestly, Chris, there's a map of everything. And I think that, I think we've got a pretty well mapped out innovation cycle where we know where we want to be in 3 years and 5 years and 7 years. I can tell you, these are things that we've got mapped out. We have to cover our boards when people come into our facility because we're looking at this stuff every day.
So along, you mentioned something a moment ago, Align. Can you get Align on this? And Charlie, you know what a huge fan I am of the MCC +4 Align grips. I've told this story when you've been on the show before, and I've told it when other people have been on the show. Some of the club fitters that have joined me is, when I got my new set of irons, the first thing I did with my new set of irons is I grabbed some of the MCC +4 Align grips, went up to the PGA Tour Superstore and said, hey, can you take these grips off and put these grips on a brand new set of irons? Because that's how much I believe in those grips. So as I talk about, wanting Align on things, because I love those grips, as I like the pro only putter grip that feels like it's got the Align in it. Are there some other things? There's some other improvements that could be done to the Align technology that could take that to the next level?
Well, the Align technology, what we did with that is we literally took it to the absolute legal limit. Now, there are textural changes that we can make with that technology to make it stand out. But I'll tell you, it's definitely people, if you've never felt a rib grip before and you put on the Align, there's no question that you can feel not only the raised ridge, but the textural change as well. And listen, I think that anything is fair game without sharing too much. I think that anything from any of our product lines is fair game with the Align. It's really been, I would say that it's surpassed our own expectations. Not that we did have high expectations for it. Don't get me wrong. But I think when you look at OEM partners that have literally put the Align product on their products, on their stock clubs, I think that that's pretty telling. When you walk into a retailer like PGA Tour Superstore and you look at drivers and fairways from multiple partners and you see the Align technology, you see the strip on the back of the grip, that's telling. Our OEM partners see the benefit in it. They're doing their own testing. I promise they're doing their own testing. I spent several years with an OEM doing testing. So I can tell you that these are all things the consumers are giving them the feedback. The performance is there, with the Align. And I've shared some of those stats with you before. In terms of the distance closer to the target line that an Align versus a round grip provides. It's quite significant with both an iron and a driver. So, it helps golfers feel that club face awareness throughout the entire swing, and definitely makes it easier to get back to that impact position, knowing where your hands are and where the club face is.
Charlie, what events do you guys have coming up for the fall? You guys are always involved in a lot of great things. What do you guys have coming up?
Well, I'll tell you, we have had, since the opening of our new headquarters in Pinehurst, Chris, we have had a full schedule. It is, I'll tell you, and I do hope that you get to the Pinehurst area at some point and we can give you a tour. There's a lot more to build. I'd say we're probably about 60% complete. But, we are corporate sponsors of the North and South Amateur event. They're in Pinehurst, one of the longest standing amateur events in the world. Obviously we just had the USF&amp in town as well. We have US Kids Golf, and we're partners, and we partner well with all of these local organizations and local courses to make sure that, hey, we have, whether it's players, whether it's just hosting events there for tournament volunteers and sponsors and rules officials and players. I can't tell you some of the neat players that we've gotten to host through our facility. And I cannot wait until this facility is built out yet and we have a retail experience and we have a fitting experience. It's really going to make things a lot more special. But there's a lot happening in Pinehurst, and obviously we have the fall season coming up. I know our tour team, they're coming in here in the next couple weeks and going to be amping up and checking out all the new products for 2020 and figuring out what we're going to take out the tour here soon. So I know they're excited. We're excited. And there's no no shortage of things coming through the pipeline at Golf Pride at all, from a product standpoint or just from an event standpoint. Not at all.
No doubt. No doubt. Charlie, remind our listeners again how they can stay up to date with all the great things you guys are doing, whether it's on your website or it's on social media.
Absolutely. You know, whether it's consumer promotions that we have, we're constantly running consumer promotions. You know, we're really as much as we possibly can. We want to make sure that we're getting consumers testing our product. We have tester programs on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook at Golf Pride Grips. You can follow us hashtags at Golf Pride, or just hashtag Golf Pride and hashtag Golf Pride Grips. Always a good way to see what club builders and consumers are putting on their product. Those are a couple of my favorites to just look at personally. But always Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook are where we are, I would say, most prolific in terms of interacting with consumers, and that's something we do. Our team does a really good job of is interacting with consumers when there's questions and they need feedback or anything like that. We're always as quick as we can replying. So.
Well, Charlie, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your night to come back and be a part of the show and keep us updated with all the great things you guys are doing. Again, the Pro Only Series, love those for my putter, and the new Tour Wrap Micro Suede is an outstanding grip. Got that one sitting in my hands right now. Feels great, and I'm sure it's going to be great on the irons, and the people are going to have a lot of great feedback for you guys on both of these things. So as things continue to progress and you guys continue to come out with more stuff, I hope you come back and share what the latest and greatest is with us.
Chris, we always will. We appreciate you. We appreciate all you do with our brand and for our brand. And yeah, we always look forward. We relish any opportunity we have to come on Next on the Tee.
I appreciate you very much, Charlie. Take care, my friend. Be safe up there, by the way. I hope I know you guys are a bit inland, so hopefully the hurricane stays well offshore for all of our listeners and for everyone in that area. But you guys stay nice and dry. Hope everything goes well.
Thanks, Chris. We appreciate you, and we hope the same for all the golfers there along the East Coast and everybody.
Thanks, Charlie. Take care, my friend. We'll catch up soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
See you, Charlie. That's Charlie Fisher, and boy, I tell you what, folks. Like I said, I've got both of those grips in my hand. I got the Pro Only Series. I've got all three versions of that, and the Tour Wrap Micro Suede is another great grip. And like I said, I'm a big Tour with the Align technology. But if you like a wrap feel and it's got just enough tackiness to keep you feeling good, I highly recommend it. Go check it out. PGA Tour Superstore's got them. You'll be able to check it out and give it a feel for yourself. Make sure to see if that's a great feel for you and get them on your irons and your woods. All right, before I get to my next guest, Tom Patri, and folks, Tom is an absolute gem. I want to remind you about one of our good friends, and they're over at Positive Vibes Golf. Check them out online at positivevibesgolf.com and give them a follow on Twitter at pvibesgolf. Their head covers and putter covers are a very unique way to keep your mind focused on positive thoughts. Talking about that a lot on the show tonight, right? Keep your mind positive. It's a great course training aid to, just to do just that. When you look at them, you see them, you can't help but have a smile on your face and keep your mind in the right place and in playing great golf and feeling good about yourself and moving on to the next shot, whatever that is. Go check out what I mean. Check out their putter covers. Check out their head covers online at positivevibesgolf.com. All right, now back with me here on the French Lick Resort guest line is what I like to start calling him now is our resident director of golf instruction, Tom Patri. Tom is a Golf Tips Magazine top 25 instructor. He served this summer as the director of instruction at the Hawthorns Golf and Country Club up in Fishers, Indiana. Shortly, he'll be headed back down to his winter home in Naples, Florida for his winter residency. Go visit him at Esplanade Golf and Country Club to sign up for golf lessons and a myriad of things that Tom does. Check out his website, tompatri.com. Subscribe to his newsletter while you're on there. And like I say, get yourself ready for winter golf by getting some lessons and getting that all teed up for yourself. He should be back down there in the not too distant future, and I'm always glad he is a part of this show. Good evening, TP. How are you, my friend?
Chrissy boy!
How are you, TP?
Unbelievable. Well, before I get too unbelievable, I just want to give a shout out to all my friends in South Florida, Chris, and especially to our friends over in the Bahamas. I've just been watching TV all night here, and the film and the pictures from the Bahamas is just it just rips your heart out. It's just unbelievable what those folks have gone through, and it's not pretty at all. And I can't even imagine when the smoke clears how many people there have lost their lives. And as this thing barrels up the east coast of Florida and heads towards Charleston, I just hope all our friends on the coastline are being smart about what they're doing.
Yeah, smart and safe, and let's hope it just skirts the coast and goes back out to sea, and everyone can get on with their lives safe and healthy. But yes, absolutely, prayers and thoughts to everybody that's been along this path. So hopefully, hopefully when the dust
Chris,
all settles, we can rebuild.
Chris, I've been in 4 of them and sat through 4 of them, 2 on the East Coast and 2 on the West Coast of Florida, and for people that aren't from Florida or don't understand hurricanes, they just don't understand the intensity and the power of these things, and it's just incredible the damage they can do and the lives they can take in an instant.
Yes, no doubt. Tom, lot to get into with you tonight, and I want to start. Here we are. Tour Championship is now in the rear view, and years gone by, right? And we'll talk a little bit about this with Tim Simpson, but we start to get into silly season here, right? The skins game would happen. We'd have the Wendy Street Tour challenges, the shark shootouts, those sorts of things. But now we have a wraparound season. So the 2020 season starts, oh, by the way, next week up at the Greenbrier. What do you think about the wraparound concept? Good, bad, too much of a good thing? What do you think?
Chris, I'm not a fan of it. I think we talked about this once before, but we talked a little bit about players not getting a break and players not being home and being able to decompress, players not being with their family, players not being able to rest their bodies. For the young players, putting a lot of pressure on them to perform right away and get a quick start and just have no downtime. The kids that came off the Corn Ferry Tour and got their cards now are jumping right out there right away. They've just come from their tour championship basically, and now they're jumping into the Greenbrier, the ones who have cards now, and they're just under the gun right away again without any breather. I understand why it happens. Money drives the vehicle, but I don't like the fact that these guys don't have any downtime and don't have any time back home and time to decompress. I'm not a big fan. I was a huge fan of the silly season. I thought the skins game was fun. The shark shootout basically still goes on in Naples, Florida every year. It's a fun event. Those types of things were always fun. I always look forward to Thanksgiving weekend, putting the skins game on, and seeing Arnie and Jack, and then it became Freddie and Trevino played. And, that was a fun thing to watch. I looked forward to that. And it wasn't really serious golf, but it was fun golf, and it was kind of our downtime to kind of decompress and smile and kind of laugh a little bit and have some fun. And we don't really have that anymore. And I miss that myself. Maybe I'm too old fashioned. Maybe I don't understand the X's and O's and the dollars and cents. But I'm not a fan of the wraparound at all.
So Tom, looking ahead to a little bit later this week on Friday, voting closes for the PGA Tour Player of the Year award, and there are 4 nominees. You got Brooks Koepka, who won 3 times, including the PGA Championship for a second year in a row, who also got Player of the Year honors from the PGA of America, from your peers, right? Voted him their Player of the Year, and of course they would, because he won back-to-back PGA Championships. But he also won a WGC event in Memphis, finished second at the Masters in the U.S. Open, 4th at the Open Championship. So 3 wins, 3 second-place finishes, 9 top 10s, and 21 events. You got Rory McIlroy, also nominated, who won the Players' Championship. We know he won the Tour Championship and the FedEx Cup. He also won the Canadian Open. He finished second earlier this year at the WGC in Mexico. So he's had 10 top 10 finishes in 19 events. And then you've also got a couple other guys nominated, Matt Kuchar and Xander Schauffele, who both had nice seasons, but there's no way either one of those guys is going to win. So who do you think? Who deserves the PGA Tour Player of the Year, Rory or Brooks?
Well, I think it comes down to, Chris, do you put more weight on major championships or do you put more weight on consistency? Rory had an incredible year. I mean, to have that many top 10s and that few number of events and win the Players' Championship and win the FedEx Cup is a pretty special year. And then Brooksy goes out and has a heck of a year in the majors. But really, with the exception of the WGC, he was a little, I wouldn't say he was absentee, but, from a consistency standpoint, week in and week out, he didn't really do what Rory did. So do you weigh the majors heavier, or do you weigh consistency and long term golf, heavier? It's a toss up. It's a hard one. The PGA of America, had to vote Brooks in because of the two PGAs, right? That was a slam dunk. That wasn't going to happen any other way. But the guys out there, they'll make the right choice. They're out there week in and week out. The players will vote on this, and they know what goes on week in and week out, and who's played in their mind the best golf. So I trust them to vote the right guy in, and whoever they vote in, I'm good with, because again, they're out there week in and week out, and they see these guys, they play alongside them, and they know who's played the best golf overall for the course of the year. So I don't know what's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't even mind if they're if there's a co-player of the year, if they voted them both. Could it happen? I don't know if that even mathematically can happen, or they can do that. But they both had crazy good years in different ways, and they both made golf very exciting again. I think Koepka is very exciting. Every time you turn on a major, you're looking to see what he's going to do, and Rory's kind of reinvented himself here a little bit this year and gotten back on track. Really, really good stuff. Really good stuff. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen, Chris. What do you think?
If I had a vote, I would vote for Brooks. I mean, I'm a majors sort of guy, and to your point, every time we're watching a major, he's the guy we're looking to see where's he at. And, and by his own admission, right, earlier this year, he doesn't, when you see him playing golf and it's not a major, it's when he's playing in a tournament. He's not practicing. He's not doing other things. He's only practicing for majors. But yet again, 3 wins, 9 top 10s, not bad. So yeah, I would lean Brooks's way.
So I have no, and I have no. If that goes that way, I have no problem with that. I think, I think when you look back 10 years from now, historically, you look back at Rory's year and say, how is he not player of the year? But I mean, but you're right. I mean, I think the majors are majors and they're special. I think I don't like the fact that WGCs, and I don't like the fact that the FedEx Cup has taken weight off majors. I don't like that. I think the weight should be on the majors. I think the point system should favor the majors. I think majors are majors, and I don't think, with the schedule as compressed as it is now, Chris, with a major every month and a WGC thrown in there, and then you have the FedEx Cup points going on. I just think it's too much. I just think there's too much going on there. I think it detracts from the majors a little bit, and I don't like that. So I'm with you on majors being majors and being important. I understand that opinion, and I respect it 100%.
Tom, I want to get your thoughts on a couple of team competitions that we have coming up here over the next few weeks, right? We got the President's Cup, and then we got the Solheim Cup. And let's start with the President's Cup. And the question that's sort of out there on everyone's mind is Tiger Woods going to pick himself as one of his captain's picks? So do you think Tiger did enough with his win at the Masters to deserve to be a part of the team?
No, I don't think so. And I would be very surprised if he picked himself. I think that would be, I'm not sure if that's good PR at all. And I think he realizes that, the second half of the season, he was basically absentee. He had a couple of nice finishes, but nothing special. And for periods of time there, he disappeared and didn't play very well, really, by his standard or by tour standards. Listen, you can't take anything away from that Masters victory. It was special. It was an unbelievable moment in golf history. It was the comeback we all kind of waited for. He was the knight on the white horse running in and saving the day, and picking golf up off the mat and putting it back up on the pedestal again. So, I think that you can't take anything away from the Masters victory, but to pick himself as a President's Cup player and captain, based on the second half of his year alone, I just don't think he can do it now.
Let's talk about the Solheim Cup, and that's coming up at Glen Eagles over in Scotland, and it's the LPGA's version of the Ryder Cup, U.S. versus Europe. But it isn't the U.S. and the European players out there dominating the LPGA Tour. It's more the Asian players. So would it be better, Tom, to have like a U.S. versus Asia sort of cup, or is it really time to have sort of a President's Cup version on the women's side so that you can get a U.S. versus the world, which obviously I think would be dominated by Asian players?
Well, if you had U.S. versus the world, it would be dominated by Asian players, and namely mostly Korean, which I think would be a great thing for women's golf. I mean, and I think it should be. There should be that, a President's Cup for women. It should, give it some credibility right away and expose the great players that they are to the world. I wouldn't like the American team's chances in that competition very much. Just the opposite of what we're seeing on the men's side. The men's side of the President's Cup, we've kind of dominated the competition, and I don't really understand why, quite frankly, Chris. I mean, because you look at the world team, both present and past, they've been very, very talented squads. And they can't get out of their own way, and I don't really understand that. But I think it's time that the girls have a version of that, and they play against the world team. I think that'd be great for women's golf.
So speaking of great for golf, so just to touch on what you just said, going back to the President's Cup for the men, if the world team won, right? I mean, we just got dominated right in the Ryder Cup last year by the European team. If the world team jumped up and beat the U.S. team, what would that do to U.S. golf?
Well, I mean, I'm not. Listen, I've been a big proponent for a long time that it's not a U.S. game anymore, Chris. It's a world game. I mean, look at the ladies tour. Look at the Korean players. Look at Europe. Look at what Europe's produced in the last 20 years. Look at who's come out of Australia. Look who's now starting to come out of China. The game has changed. It's not, we dominated this game for so long, and we caused, in a good way, world popularity. So we should really embrace that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And by the way, it wouldn't surprise me if we got beat. It wouldn't surprise me at all. That team, if you look at the lineup on that team on the other side, it's pretty damn good. So I don't think it would be an upset in any way. I mean, they're great, great players. But, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we've got a strong team as well, and I hope the USA prevails. I'm obviously pulling for the USA, but it's a world game, Chris. It's changed. The whole landscape of golf is now different.
But you don't think that a loss by the U.S. team after getting trounced by the Europeans last year in the Ryder Cup, and then coming in and losing to the President's Cup, doesn't send the PGA Tour kind of reeling on its heels?
No, I really don't, Chris. I just think, like I said, first of all, I think the Ryder Cup being played overseas as it was last year, right on the heels of the Tour Championship, right at the end of the season when our best players had played basically 3 or 4 weeks in a row, and then get on a plane and fly to Europe and fly to France and a venue they really didn't know. I think they almost were the sacrificial lamb in some respects. I think it goes right back to what you said about the wraparound season. I think the tour has compressed too many things into too short a period of time that these guys are exhausted. They're done. They're spent. They shot their last bullet. It's over. That tour championship ends, and they were so pumped up for the FedEx Cup in the playoffs. So now they're going to get on a plane and fly and do a team competition in France, and they were asleep, man. They were done. They were out cold. I mean, I didn't like the mojo going in. And now listen, if there'd been a month in between and they had a month of downtime, they had gone home and rested and relaxed a little bit and recharged their battery, I think the outcome could have been different. But it wasn't different. And the schedule really has to be really looked at really hard. I think we're really making a huge mistake. There's just no downtime.
Tom, before I let you go, I got to get a playing lesson from you. And one of the things that we talked about tonight, I'm going
to charge you. I'm going to charge you, just so you know.
So I was talking to Tim Simpson at the top of the show, and it's something that you've sort of alluded to throughout our conversation around mental capacity and quieting of the mind and that sort of thing. Tim talked about how that's one of his regrets about his career from a putting perspective is he had a quiet mind on the tee and in the fairway, but once he got on the green, his mind lit up like a candle and all of a sudden there's all the thoughts that were going through there, and that sort of thing. And you're a great putter, and you always were, through the course of, the time that you've been playing professionally, and you're one of the great teachers of a putting stroke. How do you train your teacher, like your junior players and even the adult players, to keep your mind quiet so that it doesn't get in our way and we don't start second guessing ourselves and, you can't miss this one and all that sort of thing? How do you keep the mind quiet when you're putting?
Because I think that's a really, really good question. A great question, actually. And it's something that's dear to me. I mean, I'm a big, big believer in process and pre-shot routine. Probably the best pre-shot routine we've ever seen in golf belonged to a guy named Jack Nicklaus. And I don't know if you remember him, but he was pretty good.
I've heard of him.
And made more, and if you look back at Jack's career, you probably wouldn't call him a great putter, but you probably would call him a great clutch putter. When it really mattered, when it really came down to the nitty gritty, he held that 10-footer, he held that 12-footer, he held that 6-footer. And if you looked at the guy and watched him go through his routine over the course of his long career, and I'll bet you if you took a film of his pre-shot routine in 1963 and took a film of his pre-shot routine in 1986, and you put it side by side and digitized it, it'd probably be exactly the same. It would probably have taken the same amount of time, the same steps. His body movements would be, almost, mirror-like, if you will. I mean, I think that was kind of Jack's cocoon. He got in that cocoon and it shut the whole world out. That was his process, and he went through these exact steps and he dialed himself in, and the world could have been exploding around him and he wouldn't have known it. And I think that if you watch guys under pressure, especially younger players, even really good younger players, they get a little jumpy coming down the stretch. They skip steps. They rush things. They come out of their posture. They don't really go through the exact same routine leading up to and reading the putt and addressing the golf ball. There's variabilities in their routine, and I think that's going to destroy you every time. You've got to have a great process to be a great putter.
Tom, before I let you go, remind our listeners once again how they can stay up to date with all the great things that you're doing on your website, and sign up for your newsletter, sign up for lessons coming up this fall and winter down in Naples, and also follow you on social media.
I got one thing before I do that, though, Chris. So you mentioned during Charlie's last interview that he was at Silenoy, and the 1916 PGA was played at Silenoy. Chris,
yes,
for a free playing lesson with Tom Patri, who won the 1916 first PGA at Silenoy?
Do I get to answer that question, or
you get to answer that question? But no looking. Don't be looking it up on me now.
No, I'm not. It's Jim Barnes.
I can see you.
Jim Barnes won.
Jim Barnes. There you go. Free playing lesson for you. That's it. You're in. Free playing lesson. Long Jim Barnes. I got a follow-up question. Where was Jim Barnes in Westchester County, New York, not far from Silenoy, the head professional for a number of years?
Ooh, now you got me. Where?
I got a Pelham Country Club. Pelham Country Club.
Pelham Country Club?
Pelham Country Club, right down the road from Silenoy. There you go. So there's your trivia for the night. So I'll still give you the playing lesson. You got the first part right. I'm not going to take that back.
I appreciate you. I'm gonna hold you to that now.
That's fine. That's okay. You earned it.
All right.
Chris, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all those places, obviously. And then my website is just simply tompatri.com. And on that website, it hosts my V1 Online Video Academy, where people can connect 24/7, 365 if they need some analysis of their golf swing. And Golf Tips Magazine, obviously, I'm a big part of that family, which I'm very proud of. So we're in a lot of different places, and it's really easy to find me if you want to. Maybe too easy. But we're the exposure that all of us get because of somebody like you and what you do for the game, Chris, is far more important than what we do. You bring this, this show every week across the airways and in multiple mediums, and what you've done for the troops overseas in broadcasting is just fantastic. And we really should be thanking you, not you thanking us.
No, that's not the case, but I appreciate you saying that. I got a quick question about your website real quick. Again, tompatri.com. What's the golf course in the background on your homepage? Is that Esplanade?
No, that with the ocean right there?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the ocean? That's Punta Cana.
Punta Cana. Okay.
The one you're talking about with the one that's alongside the sea? The picture with alongside the ocean? Yeah, that's Punta Cana. So a couple years ago, we did a trip for 40 people. I took 40 students to Punta Cana, and my longtime great friend and great player and great PGA professional, Jay Overton, who played in, I don't know, he probably played in 15 majors as a club pro, is now the director of golf down at Punta Cana. He invited us down for 5 days down there with a bunch of people. We had a blast down there. And that picture was from the Corrales course down there, where they play a PGA Tour event, as a matter of fact, the Corrales course. It's a fantastic Fazio golf course right on the ocean. And if you get a chance, any listeners out there, any of your listeners, if they contact me via my website and they want to get in touch and get a little extra special treatment, Jay's done some great things for people I've sent down there. It's a wonderful place, and he's a wonderful host. And Jay's probably 70 years old now. I might be getting in trouble saying that, but he still really plays nicely. I mean, like really nicely. It's a great place. Great place.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for coming back on the show again. Look forward to getting back together with you in a couple of weeks. In between now and then, my friend, all the best to you and your family.
Chris, love being on with you, pal. You're the greatest. And I'm on here anytime you want. You know that. And let's all say a prayer tonight for all the folks on in the Bahamas and on the east coast of the U.S.
Indeed. Take care, my friend. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, pal. Good night, pal.
See you, Tom. That's a great Tom Patri, Patri. TomPatri.com is his website. Go on there, sign up for his newsletter, and then you have an opportunity there to try to schedule some time with Tom when he is back down in Naples at Esplanade. You can't go wrong, folks. The guy knows absolutely everything there is about the golf swing. He's always been a wonderful straight driver of the golf ball. He's a great putter. And he's going to really fix your game. So go check it out. And if you can't get down there, right, you got the V1 piece, send him a video. Let him take a look at your swing via video and get some tips back from him about how you can, change it up. And you don't have to go all the way down to Naples. So for all the folks around the country that can't get there, yeah, you can. You can get there via video. So send him a video and let him take a peek at that as well. All right, folks, time for me to put a bow on this edition of Next on the Tee. My sincere thanks go out once again to Tim Simpson, Charlie Fisher, and Tom Patri for joining me tonight. Please check out our website, nextonthetee.net. You can keep up to date with what our guest schedule looks like on there. Please also check us out on a couple of websites. Our good friends over at Podbean. Can't thank those folks enough for doing, what wonderful partners they are. We've been featured on their app and online there several times, and we can't thank them enough for their support of the show. Podbean.com. Go there. Just type us in the search, right there in the search bar, Next on the Tee. You'll be able to stream or download any of our archive episodes for free right there. And we also link to them on our website, nextonthetee.net. Check us out on launchpaddm.com and click the subscribe button. We'd really appreciate that as well. Doing great things over there with Launchpad, so we appreciate their support as well. You can stream us on a lot of other sites if you have Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audio Boom, Player.fm, Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Play. Anywhere you're streaming podcasts, you'll be able to find us there as well. Check us out on Facebook, Next on the Tee with Chris Mascara. Let me know if you've got a question that you would like me to ask on your behalf to any one of our guests, whether it's a future guest or a previous guest. Comment right there on the Facebook page. We'll be sure to get that question answered for you as well. Folks, as always, we can't thank you enough for making us a part of your golfing content. We really appreciate you very much. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.
You've been listening to Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, where PGA and LPGA pros and top instructors and media members go to tell their stories. Join us the same time every Tuesday to hear more stories about the game we love from people who love sharing those stories with you. It's all about the great game of golf. It's all about the great game of golf.